Welcome to another episode of AI Chronicles. I'm Sonam, and today I'm excited to welcome my dear friend Meri Nova. Meri is the founder of Break Into Data, a growing initiative helping people navigate their way into the data field. She's also a prominent voice on LinkedIn, and by that I mean she just recently hit over 100,000 followers. Go check her out. She shares valuable insights with her community. And today we'll talk about building tech communities, crafting authentic content, and what's next for Mary and Break Into Data. Let's get started. Hi, Mary. How are you doing?
Hi, Sona. I'm super excited to be on the podcast. It's actually my first one since I started
Oh,
writing on LinkedIn. So, yeah.
I'm very excited about that. So, before any further ado, let's get into some interesting questions I have for you, especially around community and content and whatnot. So, if you can tell us what does a tech community mean for you, that would be really great.
Oh, that's a great question. So, community, I think there's a misconception actually, especially among like content creators on LinkedIn. I see people who have a following and they say that it's the community, but in fact, it's the audience. And community is when everyone else can communicate with each other and help each other grow. So, it's basically uh, indexing towards like the interactions rather than one to many interaction.
Right, you're absolutely right. Because yeah, even like since I got started involved, got more involved in the community, it's like the helping part and the no judgment and just helping each other grow. That's the part I like about being in the community. And it's just so much to learn from anybody. They come from a variety of backgrounds. Like, look at us, the way we met. It's fantastic. So, by the way, to all the listeners, I want to tell how Mary and I met. We met at Intel's hackathon, I think 2.5 or 3 years ago. We had another teammate, Louise, but we got grouped together into an NLP themed hackathon from Intel, and we won the second prize. And after that, we started to study together. To people who are watching the video, make sure you notice the air quotes here. We would meet at the coffee shop. We would study, maybe pretend to study, but mostly we would just talk. Right?
That's not true. We studied half the time. It's
Oh,
okay.
half the time. Come on, that's a stretch. But
But yeah.
anywho, so going back to like the discussion about community. So yeah, I totally agree with you. So why did you start building Break Into Data?
Why?
Why did you start it?
Sure, yeah. So I actually started it at the same time when I started being consistent on LinkedIn, which was a year ago. And the reason why I wanted to start it is because I had all these people who are reaching out to me on LinkedIn, asking questions. And I just thought, why there is not a space where we can talk and actually study together, like you and me, because I
Hmm.
did not have enough time with you. And I needed like that extra dopamine to make me more consistent in my studies, and that's why we're doing these accountability calls every Saturday. Actually,
Hmm.
I think there was like a group of up to 10 people who showed up every single Saturday for like 6 months. And
Wow.
yeah, and we're still talking with them, but they landed jobs since then. They had like improvements in their own like skills, and that was so impactful. And I thought this is so cool, and it was all in Discord, and it was all for free. So I really liked
Nice.
that. Yeah.
That's a great initiative, I must say. And over the course of past few months, how do you think Break Into Data has evolved?
I think it has changed completely actually. So, a little disclosure, I know some of the people are finding that Discord, original Discord that I created, but these days I am not active, to be honest, on Discord, which is the reason why is because I realized there's so much demand, especially as my LinkedIn grew. I realized I want to make it more consistent and more professional and give it more resources and actually invite experts to talk and interact and have a more intimate connection with learners as well. So I moved the community to Circle, and now we're more We actually launched our first cohort for the waitlist people last month, and it's like first 15 people, and we're seeing what kind of problems they have, how we can help them, and it's basically like lots of experimentation at the moment. But in the 2025 year, the goal is to have as many experts as possible who are already making impact on LinkedIn and beyond, and just have them in one place and help people alongside the accountability system that we're building actually land jobs, transition without going back to school, without spending hundreds of $1,000s, or without hiring any expensive coaches, basically providing everything that they need to transition to data and AI space.
That is very cool. Wow. And do you have like a team or it's just you doing all the cool stuff by yourself?
That's a great question. Actually, just yesterday evening, I launched, I guess, my team, but I called it 10X program. It's
Mm,
basically where I invite writers, technical writers, workshop creators, educators in one team. And we're basically are also accountability support for each other. And now, starting from December 30th, actually, they'll be posting every single day on social media, and once a week they'll be contributing an article or a piece of like content that is useful for data and AI learners. So this is going to be my team for the next few months, and I'm excited to see where how we're going to end up, where we're going to end up. So
that is so cool. Congratulations, Mary. That's really big. I'm so happy for you and your team. And speaking of writing content and social media and LinkedIn and etc., what motivated you to start writing on LinkedIn?
sure. So actually, I was creating content on other platforms like Instagram and TikTok and even
Hmm.
Twitter. I was speaking on spaces for like half a year before I started LinkedIn, just because I always wanted to. There's a term that's popular because of Justin Welsh, probably. It's called solopreneurship.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be both technical and entrepreneurial. And I thought creating content is the best way to do that. But it was a long time, actually, and you know that, until I arrived to the place where I saw consistent results. So I think that was the main motivation.
Nice, nice. And how do you plan your technical content that you want to post on LinkedIn?
It's funny, but I actually never plan. I write on the day.
I'm the same way, believe me. Too much planning involved otherwise. People actually have like events calendar or content calendar and so organized. And I'm like, I don't know, whatever comes to mind. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Uh, so, from what you've told me, you started from scratch with Break into Data community, writing all the content, and now having a community or audience of over 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. It's basically just building your personal brand, in my opinion, and the online presence, of course. So, for I'm curious, how do you cultivate the authenticity in your personal brand and the online presence?
Hmm. Yes, this is an interesting one just because when I think about my audience and I think about the community, those are two different things actually for me.
Hmm.
Because a break into data, I want it to be on its own, thriving and growing on its own without so much of like help from my side actually. That's my goal. But the audience and the personal brand that I'm cultivating is kind of shifting every maybe 6 months right now. And I'm very new to this actually. It's been, I think, only a year. And if you think about it, if you're getting a new job, let's say, like you transition to a new role, let's say a data science, and your first year, you're a junior, you're still learning, you're still like adapting to the company culture or whatever, or to the role. But same with me, actually. Even though I have made results, I still feel like very much a noob in this content creation field.
Hmm.
And for me, I am still cultivating that voice and trying to understand what it is that I like to learn about because it's shifting.
Yeah.
Before, it used to be lots of just technical things, and I would share them on LinkedIn, and I love that. But nowadays, it's a lot more what has to do with business and
Mm.
technology. So
Yeah.
to understand how I can maybe shift Mary Nova's profile more to like business and tech, and break into
Hmm.
data still help lots of people transition towards data
Right.
and oh, an interesting part is I've been noticing business people and beginner, junior data scientists or engineers, they usually need the same type of content, which is interesting because
Hmm.
both of them are beginners and they don't have like experience and they don't have the vocabulary yet. So
Right,
it's
right.
all about simplifying the concepts.
Ah,
So I think like that's maybe that would be a good way.
that makes sense. And going back to the content stuff, do you like plan according to your target persona, or do you have a target persona in mind, or it's just like a broad range of content that can serve multiple personas?
Interesting. What do you mean by that?
I mean, you just mentioned like how beginners in business and tech and how it's been shifting. So I'm wondering, like, do you shift your content according to that or write content according to that?
Oh, interesting. I don't really think about a specific persona when I write. I think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
most of the time the problem
right.
or the concept.
Mm.
So I start from there, and then
Okay.
many people can just relate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And it's so basic. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. It's is it more generalized or is it more specific to a certain audience? So that makes sense. And now I have this fun question. So story time, more so than that. Can you share a story of a breakthrough moment or aha experience in your journey so far?
As a content creator, or
Anything.
oh,
Pick your choice. Yeah.
awesome. I love it. I think the first thing that comes to mind that truly changed my life was when I got diagnosed with ADHD,
Hmm.
and that has shifted lots of things. And it happened when I turned 27, and I think it was last year, June. Yeah, I think it was last year. So
Yeah, sometime around last. Yeah.
and before I was always I had this set a negative self-talk when I thought, oh, if I'm not finishing a project, if I'm not finishing something, that means I'm terrible. And guess what? People with ADHD never finish things usually, and it's really hard to just stay focused on one thing, right? And I used to blame myself and think that I am lesser than everyone else. And
Mm,
once I learned about ADHD, once I officially got diagnosed, I talked with my psychiatrist about the symptoms and how it can be managed. I learned about my own brain and started working with it instead of
mm,
against it.
that's
And now I'm my biggest supporter, and my self esteem has gotten so much better. I became a lot more confident and consistent in what I do. And instead of like saying, "Oh, I can't like do this," I realized actually I can do this if I change my locations a lot more often. If I do it with somebody else to give me a little bit more dopamine to finish what I'm doing, or do it in the group. So I'm
right.
finding ways to like help myself do better instead of like, oh, you have to do it right now before this time.
Mm,
So yeah, I think that was the biggest shift.
thank you for sharing that. I'm pretty sure it will be helpful for many people. So, so before we end this conversation, what's next for Break Into Data and you in 2025?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot just because we're nearing the new year. And you know how it goes. You want to set the goals for the next year, but I had the goal for the past few months, and I think it's staying the same.
Mm,
Basically, Break Into Data will be a household name when it comes to transitioning to data and AI.
nice.
So it sounds cringy at the moment, but I'm sure it's going to happen just because of the
I
amount of
bet.
momentum that we've gained, right? And the amount of
Yeah.
supporters that we have. So I'm really excited to provide the platform where people can find like minded people and transition to the dream jobs and finally believe in themselves. And what a better way to do it than with a community that already has done that and can support you in so many different ways. And
Exactly.
I am super excited on the amount of impact that we can make and lots of things that we can be doing, like including the projects, coding challenges, and hackathons. So this is going to be a busy, busy year.
Nice. That's so exciting. I'm very happy for you. Love where you're heading towards and what you're doing for the community. That's really good. So, that's a wrap for today's episode. Big thank you to you, Mary, for sharing your journey, your insights with us. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation. And as we close out the year, I want to wish all my listeners a happy, healthy, and inspiring new year. Here's to new beginnings, big dreams, and meaningful connections in 2025. Thanks for tuning in to AI Chronicles, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you.